You're agreeing enough that I'm going to assume that all of you are going to that elevator to go down. But Nathan has not spoken yet. So what does Albert say?
So, about this point, the deteriorating recording process finally hit a stopping point, and I'll tell you about our last about 10 minutes or so of play. What they found was that downstairs in the Transego area was that Rimsky, the Russian, you know, government's liaison with ICES, has effectively taken over. They had their own, their own staff. What had set up effectively a quietly but effectively maintained perimeter of the downstairs area of ICES. And staff members such as Danny Gunther were, kind of suborned into or strong armed into staffing and activating the device instead of packing it up. So they've kind of dug themselves in there and are prepared, to defend it against all comers, specifically because they want to use it. They want to send the team. Interestingly enough, Claire, in trying to understand what was going on, their people were speaking mostly Russian, rolled catastrophically, and so completely misunderstood and thought that this was all under the direction of Brackenbury and ICES proper. So the most stubborn or contrarian of the group is the one who completely misunderstood the situation and said, oh, okay. Well, anyway, this was also prompted by the fact that Nyan Su, played by Ola, was very intent on going to Xenos immediately. They were all agreed, actually, that this attack on the ICES headquarters was a huge jump in whatever was going on back in Xenos, and that they really, were running behind. They were being too reactive, and so they said, we have to go in there and we've got to run, a direct op, which, interestingly enough, is pretty much what the Russian government had concluded anyway. So the team wasn't particularly rebellious against this. Margaret had been mortally injured. I mean, her leg was almost torn off by the monster, and so she received expert medical care, within the allotted time of not dying. So that's good. And interestingly, that injury was a real team builder. The fact that the other two people, had tended to her as best they could and demanded that she be patched up. Of course, the Russians had no intention of letting her die. This wasn't a crisis as far as they were concerned. I mean, medically urgent, but not, gee, are we going to let Margaret die? No, they need the team. So she's receiving, emergency and then stabilizing medical care even as she goes under the device. So the team is off. The situation back on Earth is very, very unstable. We don't know what's going to happen with the IC situation, and we don't know what's going to happen with the Russian control over the Transego device, which is an extremely unilateral act for arguably the most important piece of technology on the planet. So it's led me to think a little bit too. For prep for session 7, I had to come up with a whole panoply of what are all the people we know on Xenos doing, and then some of the people that are listed in the book that the player characters haven't met or know about. I had to think a lot about what they had ramped up to do, and so who knows what and who's acting on what. And I knew that they're going to Xenos, so I definitely did some prep all there because I had no idea who they might jump into. I mean, they've got the skills to pick and choose now to some extent, pick and choose either location or person. And so I had to kind of, say, well, okay, what's everyone up to? Because I have no idea where the team is going to land. So with all that in place, I also turned my attention back to Earth, to say what will be happening in their absence, their mental absence, what will be going on there. And I gave some thought to that too. That's that has not come into play because in session 7 we stay on Xenos, but I have a pretty good idea of what's happening back there when and if they manage to return. So that's all occurring, and the one thing I really regret is that in session 5 and now again in session 6, the warmth and the facial interactions and the engagement and the quips and stuff like that are all working together. You can really see a powerfully functional role-playing group at this time. Everybody is interested in each other's characters. Everybody is interested in each other's personal, like real person input into play. And everybody is kind of fascinated by the whole situation and operating very intuitively and rationally at the same time, deeply creative. So all of that is occurring, and you will finally get to see that truly in action in session 7, for which the recording was just fine. So you can look forward to that. I hope you do.